Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Please like and subscribe, become a member to the channel. Follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. But make sure that the down payment for that fried rice and chicken wings is in the house. Look, man, Canelo was a lion in the past, but now he's a pussycat. The man used to roar, now he meow, meow, meow. Too much money in silk Dolce and Gabbana pajamas. Let me tell you this. We all heard, this ain't nothing new. Fighters start struggling to put on top-notch performances when they're waking up in silk pajamas. And we all know Canelo wakes up in silk pajamas, and he wears silk pajamas morning, afternoon, and night. I ain't making that shit up. Look at the images there on the thumbnail. Canelo be wearing some silk pajamas. Got Terence Crawford talking about, what are those? What grown man walk around in a silk pajama? Hugh Hefner was a player. He wore a silk pajama. But he also had the Playboy mansion full with little honeys. Canelo ain't living that lifestyle. But I guess he can do what he wants. But the thing here, Canelo wearing those silk pajamas, does that mean that he's like, all right, y'all want to clown me? Well, I'm going to make you wear this knockout shot Terence Crawford. Because Canelo has the power. And when you listen to people talk, they're going to tell you, a good power puncher always has a good chance against a skilled boxer. However, it depends on how effectively they can land their shots. And we know Crawford isn't going to be there to have any of these big Guadalajara, Jalisco bombs coming from Mr. Pajama, silk pajama, land those shots on Crawford. People can say early in the fight Crawford's going to run, mid-fight he's going to run, but at some point Crawford's going to slow down and Canelo's going to hit him with the bing-bings. Well, okay, you obviously have a crystal ball over there that you've rubbed up, kissed up, loved up, hugged up. That's telling you the way the fight's going to go. So, good for you, because I don't have a crystal ball. I can predict, I can speculate, and that should drive a healthy dialogue. But for those of y'all with the crystal ball, I guess I can go ahead and say thank you, because you're telling us how the fight's going to go. But nonetheless, if Canelo can't land a big bomb on Crawford, and I don't just mean something to hit him and get his attention, to get his respect, I mean the one-hitter quitter. Look, even you Canelo fans know he's got to knock Crawford out cold. He ain't going to just come in there and land a hard shot here and there and win the fight. Because Terence Crawford's going to be putting the Omaha, Nebraska bing-bings on Saul Silk Pajama Canelo Alvarez. But it's going to boil down to if the boxer can neutralize the power puncher's strength, or if the power puncher, Canelo, can neutralize the boxer's strength in Terence Crawford. You see, there are a lot of advantages when you're talking about a power puncher, man. And this is what gets me frustrated. People are talking boxing because they can't really break this shit down. A power puncher, one of the main advantages of a power puncher, and what Crawford's going to have to be worried about, is the fight-changing power. I understand people talk about Amir Khan and Canelo Alvarez. We need to get beyond that. When have you seen Canelo do that to anybody since Amir Khan. All right? So right there, hold your horses. Stop taking it to the stupid. Go ahead and park it, buddy. A single clean shot can end a fight. Even if a guy like Canelo is being outboxed by Terence Crawford most of the rounds. Now, this proved true when he fought Amir Khan. But I'm just really trying to look and see Canelo hit Crawford with something that's going to put Crawford out cold. I just don't see. You see, Crawford going to be switching and doing different things that's going to cause Canelo Alvarez to stop, to reset. See, Canelo Alvarez, he's not Lomachenko. He can't punch while he's moving. He's not Usyk. He can't move around the ring and punch while he's moving. There are only concentric few fighters who can do that. And Canelo's not one of them. His feet are there, planted in cement, and his feet need to be set for him to actually punch. It's that simple. So Crawford's just going to make him move, going to turn him, and going to always have him resetting. That's what's going to happen. The pressure, the physicality. Look, that's going to be something that's going to be interesting, especially depending on that ring size. As far as what Canelo's bringing, because if he can cut that ring off and force Crawford, again, he got to force Crawford to stand and fight your fight. And for Canelo, that means he's going to have to force Crawford to, wherever they're at in that ring, to exchange with him. Like that's the only way Canelo has a chance. He can't sit back from the outside lunging in with looking downstairs and leaping upstairs with a hook, or looking upstairs then going down to the body. Crawford has too much experience to fall for foot feints, head feints, and to fall for misdirection using the eyes. He's too much experience. That's not going to work. What Canelo's going to need to do, which I think he's going to have a tough time doing it, force Crawford to stand there and fight him, because that can increase Canelo Alvarez's chances of landing huge shots. The other thing that I want to point out, we know as far as the grit and durability, both of them have durability, both of them have grit, but Canelo for sure is more durable. I think he's more gritty, but I think Crawford has shown the ability more times than not to up it in a fight. Canelo doesn't necessarily up it in a fight. It's his pressure and physicality that cause fighters to start to wilt. But a guy like Crawford, he's able to kind of cancel out the durability and grit in a fighter by upping it. Because you see, when Canelo's going to be trying to get off all these power punches, right? The thing is this, for Canelo to get off those shots that he normally gets off from fighters, that's because he's tough and he's able to absorb the shots coming at him and keep moving forward. I understand what Canelo has done across his career. I'm not at all downplaying that. You know what I'm saying? But I also know when I look at Canelo and his recent performances, something like the last 5 or 6 fights, I'm not really seeing a guy who's absorbing punches and coming right back at you and countering you, and you're throwing your shots and you may catch it with a couple, but he's coming right back and hitting you with shots you don't see and throwing 7-8 punch combinations. That Canelo used to exist when he was a lion, but again, now he's a pussycat. That guy doesn't exist anymore. So to think he's going to be in there as a big-time power puncher, a big tough guy from Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico, and he's just going to allow Terence Crawford to bing him. Y'all think Canelo's just going to take Crawford's punches, absorb that damage, and he's just going to keep marching forward through that? And I get it. I know what y'all say. Oh, he took Triple G's punches. Crawford could have hurt Marjamov. We're going to find out, aren't we? Because the one thing that I don't think people really understand, Canelo may plan on taking damage. I'll take 4 or 5 of Crawford's and land my one. But it's not just a matter of Crawford getting in there trying to coochie coo or tickle him or chicken peck him like a Shakur Stevenson. See, Crawford, he's got speed, he's got power, he's got precision. That is a bad combination for anyone getting in the ring with him. And this whole thing about, well, what about Madrimov? Madrimov's an off-rhythm fighter. For those of you thinking Madrimov, his style is whack, right? Look at what Kambosos did after he lost to Lomachenko. Kambosos was fighting in that kind of herky-jerky style, which gave him some advantages in the fight subsequent to the Lomachenko loss. Also, Liam Paro, when he fought Hitchison, he had Hitchison perplexed first couple rounds because even Paro was fighting in that Lomachenko herky-jerky up and down style, a lot of feints. But I just think when you look at Crawford, a smart guy, a lot of IQ, I think he's going to be able to evade a lot of those shots that Canelo's throwing because Canelo's going to have to try to reach to get to Crawford. And as a result, you could see Crawford landing some very clean counters and keeping Canelo off balance. And remember, Crawford has that speed, precision, and he has power. He start catching Canelo with some clean counters. Shit can get interesting real quick. And to this is the other thing. Y'all act like Crawford just has no defense. You act like he just gonna get in the ring. All the ring IQ he's shown over the years, all the defense he's shown over the years, the great footwork he's shown over the years. You act like he's no longer gonna use his footwork. He's no longer gonna use his feints. He's no longer gonna use any angles to frustrate a big, heavy-handed Guadalajara and Jalisco fighter like Alvarez. I have no doubt that Canelo is going to be looking to knock out Crawford. But I think Crawford is going to make him miss. And he's going to force Canelo to make mistakes, especially if we start getting around 6, 7, and 8, and Canelo's behind. Canelo is going to get reckless. And when he does, that means he's going to be lunging and throwing shots and swinging for the fences and missing. And that's just going to further drain what little bit of stamina he has left in them championship rounds. And this is where we're going to see Terence Crawford's cardio and his ability to adapt really show up. And he's going to drag Canelo into deep waters. He's going to pull him under and exploit his fatigue. I'm just telling you. It don't matter how strong Canelo's chin is in early rounds. Once Crawford takes him into deep waters and start pulling his ass under, that strong chin and being able to absorb big shots, all that starts to just fall apart. I just think at some point in the fight, as far as the game plan Canelo tries to execute, I think he's going to start falling apart. And I know Bivol and Crawford is two different animals. But I just think there's a lot of lessons to be learned from Bivol's performance against Canelo. And I don't know if Crawford can, replicate that. But in his own way, he can probably get the same result. You know what I'm saying? But it boils down to whether Canelo can land that power, man. The power punch only needs one moment to turn the fight. That time of that fight, everything I'm saying can happen. Just like I'm saying, if Canelo lands, that shit can change, man. I mean, there's all kind of examples, but a few are like Mayweather versus Maidana. Maidana hit Mayweather with some shit, especially in that second fight. He hit Mayweather. If there were another 10 seconds left, he would have knocked him out cold. He hit Mayweather. Had Mayweather, shoulders up to his ears, grabbing the rope and kind of, tap dancing back to the corner. Mayweather was hurt. You look at Ali and Foreman. So in the Mayweather-Maidana, Ali and Foreman fights, right? You've seen what the power puncher can do, then you've seen what the boxer can do. But it's about being able to adapt and up it in a fight. Mayweather-Maidana, you saw the boxer figure it out. Ali and Foreman, you saw the boxer figure it out. Canelo and Bivol, you saw the boxer figure it out. The more technical fighter was able to weather the storm and completely neutralize the power puncher. And that's what I think we're going to see with Crawford and Canelo. Look, I understand Crawford's never faced anyone like Canelo, but Canelo's never faced anyone like Crawford. Not at all. Canelo used to have a nice rhythm, man, but I don't really know everything about Canelo now. He's patient, he's economical, but man, I don't know. I really don't know, man. What happens if Crawford gets too defensive? But one thing about Canelo, especially if he feels Crawford ain't letting his hands go, he's gonna throw. Every shot Canelo's gonna throw is gonna be a power punch. You know what I'm saying? Power, power, power. And even if he starts to get off on Crawford, you're gonna see Crawford use his feet and them legs and get out the way. Because he's highly skilled defensively, and you're gonna see him try to control that distance. You're gonna see him start to reset and get back to trying to control the distance. But again, I don't know what size that ring's gonna be. But if Crawford can really focus on controlling that distance and frustrating a guy like Canelo, I'm telling you, Canelo is going to start to wear down. You know what I'm saying? Because he's going to try to be relentless, cutting the ring off and all that. But I'm just trying to see. I think it's going to be more hit than miss for Crawford than Canelo, because Canelo's got to make Terence Crawford uncomfortable. He's got to make him uncomfortable. But I'm just not sure if he's going to be able to do that because, Crawford's fighting at a very high level, man. The defensive skills are just something that, people haven't really seen before. And he's just really smart with his counters. And that's why he always has the edge in every fight he's been in. But at the same time, it keeps coming back to it. It's just like Deontay Wilder would say. I only got to be perfect for 1 second. You got to be perfect for the whole 36 minutes of the fight. The power is the ultimate equalizer, man. Crawford makes one mistake, Canelo could nail him, and then the fight could be over. But I don't know. Does Canelo put his foot on the gas early, or does he start stepping to him after round 5 and 6? He's going to have to figure out when he's going to be aggressive. Because early in the fight, Canelo's very dangerous, but also is Crawford, because they're both sharp, they're fresh, got all their power, full tank of gas. But man, it's going to get interesting, man. When they really decide, I'm gonna go for it, because both of them guys are deadly in their own way. You know what I'm saying? Y'all got to give Crawford, even I'm giving Canelo his credit. I just like the fact that so many people aren't giving Crawford a chance, so that just kind of motivated me to come out here and do more videos talking about how Crawford has chances to win. I can't believe, really, 90% of people aren't giving Crawford a chance. I could understand, but at least explain why. Don't just say because Canelo's bigger. Because speed kills. And I'm not saying Canelo doesn't have speed, but speed kills, and I think Crawford has more speed. He will also throw combinations. Canelo isn't really throwing that many combinations anymore, but he will. The reflexes, Canelo's, head movement's really good. Crawford has sharp reflexes. The footwork, you got to get at the Crawford. And I just think I start feeling when you start talking about the speed and shit, man, that shit can overwhelm any opponent. And next thing you know, they can't really react to it. I mean, when I talk about that, the first person comes to mind is Roy Jones Jr. Talking about speed and combinations and overwhelming an opponent. Manny Pacquiao. That guy's hands was, that guy used to throw a bunch of punches and combinations, and Floyd Mayweather. You know, and Crawford, he belongs, in as an honorable mention. Because, he does have the fighting style, the speed, the combinations that can make it impossible for opponents to land cleanly. And he's always done that in every fight. And then you see over the course of the fight, Crawford just starts to dismantle people and goes on to get the victory. But again, you seen Crawford get touched by Gamboa. He was at 135. He got clipped by Kavaliauskas at 147. And those punches could have been fight-ending shots because Crawford was hurt against Gamboa and against Kavaliauskas. He can say what he wants. Oh, it was a good shot. Bullshit. He was hurt badly. But if Canelo hits him with something, I don't think it's just going to be a matter of us saying, yeah, he buzzed him. I think a clean, perfectly landed shot by Canelo. I think everything shuts down instantly. Terence Crawford sees black. He's gone. He's going to probably think he was in there with Deontay Wilder, George Foreman, or Ernie Shavers. You know what I'm saying? Because those kind of guys, when they connect, the fight's over. And if Canelo lands a perfect shot, the fight could be over. But we just got to see at a level this high. We just got to see. I just think speed dominates for longer when you're at such a high level. You know what I'm saying? When you can move around the ring and avoid damage and win rounds consistently, man, I just think that gives you an advantage. But the problem is, if there's a little bit of lapse on your part, that power can erase all the disadvantages of facing somebody with speed in a split second, man. And I do think a fighter needs to have both to be elite, power and speed. I just think Crawford, when I'm looking at power, Canelo, you got to give him the edge, but Crawford has power too. But when you look at speed, you got to, Canelo has speed, but Crawford is a guy who's faster. So you need to have the speed, you got to have the power. But the other things that come into play, like, skill, adaptability, experience, the size, and the thing is, all these things I'm mentioning, Canelo has it, and so does Terence Crawford. Like they really all have that. And that's why you're going to see who can actually implement the game plan and pull out these tools they have in the toolbox and actually, allow it to show up on fight night. So for me, I'm gonna keep a few things into consideration, man. I'm gonna really think about Crawford's speed and his precision, how he can make adjustments, and see if he can use that to avoid Canelo's power shots. I'm gonna be looking at Canelo's power and physicality, man. He's naturally bigger, seems to be stronger, which is gonna force Crawford to have more discipline than he's ever had in his whole career. Otherwise, he could get starched. But we got to be real. We look at Canelo's recent performances, man. They've been underwhelming. That's why there are, more and more people who are starting to say that Crawford clips Canelo. You know what I'm saying? Because, look, you just look at his performances. He's slowing down. Whether y'all want to believe it or not, he's slowing down, man. He is. And Crawford's undefeated coming off of dominant performances, man. So it's no surprise that people believe that Crawford can come out here and pull off the upset. Even Keyshawn Davis believes it, but he's going to side with Crawford. Caleb Plant feels Crawford's mental toughness and skill could help Crawford win the fight, but he feels that the weight classes exist for a reason. It's going to be a tough challenge, but even he's saying they can't totally rule Crawford out. And we all know Amir Khan, who doesn't have a dog in the fight, but he's like, look, I fought Crawford and I fought Canelo. I'm leaning towards Crawford. He said there's something about Canelo losing his spark, which is the same thing we've all said because we're sitting back observing. But that being said, man, I just want to see how it goes. Who's going to be able to force mistakes? Who's going to really be able to control the distance? And who's going to be smart enough to say, you know what, I need to mix patience and aggression. I think that's the most crucial thing here. Knowing when to let your hands go and when to set traps and be patient. Someone's gonna have to work harder than they want to. And if whoever can make the other person do that, I just think the fight tilts to their favor. I just really do. But let's just wait and see. I can't wait to find out what the ring size is going to be. You know, when Canelo was fighting Billy Joe Saunders, Canelo wanted an 18-foot ring. Of course, that plays to Canelo's advantage and not Saunders. And Saunders wanted a 24-foot ring. That's ridiculous. I think they met somewhere in the middle, but the bottom line is, I want to see if Canelo's going to get treated like the A side and get the 18-foot ring. I'll say this: if Canelo's if they're in an 18-foot ring, Crawford loses. All right, simple. I should save this for another video, but it's coming to my damn mind. Yeah, Crawford loses. But if not, and it's a 24-foot ring or 22-foot ring, then it gets really interesting because Crawford and Canelo both can execute the game plans. It's just a matter of who can prevail in the execution, because I think 22 feet, a 22-foot ring is large enough for both of these guys to execute their game plans, perfectly. But, you just got to wait and see, because, again, can't make me. I just keep thinking about Canelo swinging so wildly against Mayweather and Bivol, how horrible he looked. Even against School, even against Erislandy Lara. You know what I'm saying? Canelo just was missing wildly at times, getting frustrated. He doesn't like facing elusive guys. Crawford has to remain elusive. You know what I'm saying? Throwing all them heavy punches that don't connect. And seeing the opponent slip away from you. He can't afford to make the mistakes against Crawford. Crawford uses his feet and he uses his eyes to win fights. He sees everything you're doing. And he's really good on controlling the distance and making sure that you come up just a half inch short on your shots where you don't connect or cleanly connect. But is Canelo gonna panic when he can't touch Crawford the way he wants to? If things aren't going his way, is Canelo gonna be able to stay cool under pressure? No need to act ill. You got to chill. That's EPMD right there. I don't know. Frustration could creep in. We just got to wait and see. I'll be looking for Canelo to touch up Crawford as often as he can. Crawford to try to be precise with his counters, especially early in the fight, man, to discourage Canelo. But I don't know. Round by round, we just had to see both of them trying to break each other down and get the upper hand. I don't know. But I think he's going to get into them championship rounds. You're going to see Canelo trying to go for the late round stoppage, because he is going to be letting his hands go. He's going to be chasing down Crawford because Canelo can't afford to lose. He signed his big deal with Turki Al-Sheikh. They want Canelo to keep fighting and fighting and fighting so they can, just highlight him and also, try to make some kind of money back because Canelo getting paid big money. But anyway, we'll see. Past fights tell us a whole lot about fighters. Crawford's a master at studying past fights. We'll see if he's able to take anything from the fighters who have given Canelo some problems, and see if he can mix in those moments of aggression, man, to keep Canelo guessing. But Canelo's a bad boy. Again, I just don't think he's going to be that easy. The one determining factor, I forget the speed and power. I'm telling you, it's going to be the size of that damn ring. That's what I'm waiting to hear. What size is that ring going to be? Because if that ring is small, Terence Crawford's in trouble. I'm going to do a video about that tomorrow. I'm about to go upstairs. The ring size will matter. I know Canelo will tell the media, I don't care about ring size. I will win. Yes, you do. Because you didn't give Billy Joe Saunders a 24-foot ring. And with Crawford, I'm sure he's not going to do that. They're going to have Crawford like Tony Harrison against Tim Tszyu. Tony Harrison was up shit creek, boy. They had that man in like a 12 by 12 foot ring. That was horrible. He couldn't escape Tim Tszyu for shit. Anyway, man, y'all keep cool. We'll see if they put Crawford in that smaller space. But Canelo wasn't lying, but now he's a pussy cat. All that money in silk pajama. I don't know if he gonna really show up and do enough to get the win over Crawford. But we'll find out in the breeze.